I'm not saying come home and like beat the shit out of your kid, like take the day out on him, but like
you gotta take a couple days off at least.
Yeah,
right?
you know what I mean. But like, hey, stupid, give him a good little smack, but don't like come home like just beating the shit out of him. Don't do that. That's bad.
Sloppy Seconds with Brian Knuutti.
Hello and welcome again to another episode of Sloppy Seconds, the second ever episode. Today, I have two great guests, the Wright brothers, David Wright, brother of Joe Wright, or is Joe the brother of D Wright? How do you guys put it?
Well, I would say he came sloppy second, so he'd be my brother that came next, so I'd be first. He was just the milkman's kid, I guess.
Oh, there you go. So how I met Joe, actually, so first he was just a broadcaster for a league we were racing in, and which was iOS back then.
It was before that too, right, Brian?
No, it was just iOS. That's when I started racing with that league, or this kind of similar group of people. Obviously, we got a lot more people kind of branched off since then. But
is that the season where you got dumped at the end?
That is the season where I got dumped. Yeah, at Martinsville. Well, actually, that was a clean pass. I'll say the Martinsville was definitely that was just short track racing. But getting dumped at the short track race later in the season was definitely getting right hooked going down the backstretch. But anyway, so Joe was a broadcaster with Josh Hall. And then so one day you guys were wanting to run like a Dover or something like that and trying to learn like the lines or like trying to go faster around the track or something like that. So I was like, I'll jump in and join you guys. And we were kind of just doing a little session. And then me and you just kind of started spitballing around. And then I was like, oh, I got a brother, that works in I don't know if I can say where exactly that you guys worked at. Right?
Yeah, you can now.
Yeah. Okay. I could be like, oh yeah, my brother-in-law, he works for the Coast Guard. And then you're like, oh, I work for the Coast Guard. And I was like, oh yeah, my brother-in-law works in DC. And then you were like, I work in DC. And then I was like, my brother-in-law does this for the Coast Guard. And then you were like, yeah, I do that for the Coast Guard. And I was like, do you know blah blah? And then you were like, no way, that's your brother-in-law. And apparently that was your boss at the time, or a few weeks or months before that, or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't really know that he even had a sister, so for him to have a brother-in-law was weird. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, we work together, and I know him really well, and he knows of me. I don't necessarily I didn't work directly for him, but he knew of me, and I knew of him, and it's an odd situation because I was a boat driver, right, Knuutti? I drove boats for 17 years of my life. Yeah, and he's been a nerd his whole career, I think. Yeah. So I came into their world a couple of years ago, like 2017, and just started messing shit up. And so when I came into their world and started messing shit up on purpose, that was my purpose in life, was to question everything and fix it all. So I helped them get or change or fix things to make it more what they call operational. So
okay, I gotcha.
Yep.
So I guess you basically just described exactly what your career is. So let's go ahead and move on to David, right? David. I honestly don't even know what you like being called. What do you like being called?
It don't matter, Bri. Probably D-Wright is the most comfortable, but David. Every other David I've met has a preference on that. I don't really care, to be honest with you.
The only reason I say that is because my dad's name's David, but everybody calls him Dave.
Exactly.
The only person that ever called him David was my mom, and that was it.
Right.
So what exactly is it that you do for a living?
So what I do, I'm a senior manager for a publicly traded disaster recovery and backup company. So what I do is I essentially manage cloud engineers.
Cloud engineers?
Yeah.
What is that?
So what we do as a company is we back up computer and database systems. So we put servers into small and medium-sized businesses, back up all of their information, and store it in the cloud, have secondary replication. If they get into a disaster, their location floods, they have an electrical issue or something like that, we can virtualize them in the cloud, keep business running. Say they get ransomware or something like that happens, we can restore, go back to a point in time before that, and get them back up. So I'm a manager in the support section of that.
Okay, perfect. So basically what you're trying to tell me is that IT kind of runs in your guys' family.
Yeah.
Or like computers, I guess I should say.
Interestingly enough, that it kind of intertwines now. Joe, and then we have a younger brother as well that is a little younger than me. Both of them went into the Coast Guard. Drew, who is our younger brother, yeah, he's still in the Coast Guard as well. I didn't go that route. I went to college. I went to Niagara, graduated with a bachelor's in sports management, and wanted to do something in that. But there was nothing locally in the area where I was. So just getting out of college, I got into like insurance sales and did a bunch of different jobs around that. Worked my way into management in Sprint. Did that for a while, and then worked over into the IT sector a bit through telecom. So came in through IP trafficking stuff on the telecom side. And then got in with this company now, which was essentially a unicorn as a startup and went public. I've been with them for about 5 years.
Okay, nice. Hey, are you going like in and out closer to your mic and further away?
No, why am I? Does it sound like that?
It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right? Like, yeah, sometimes you're like perfect, and then other times it's just like you're right there. I'm sure I sound like shit too, but who knows?
So, Brian, you asked about IT, right? Like, all right.
Yeah.
So my first introduction to video games is my dad when we're like, I don't know, I'm 7, Dave's 5, and he buys us a Nintendo, like the original.
Yeah,
and
then, OG.
Yeah, and then, second grade or so, we move out to what they call the city in Rochester, and we have a neighbor that lives 2 doors down. And my first introduction to really like getting into IT stuff was that. Do you know the Kodak company, like the film company?
Yeah.
So that was huge in Rochester, and the guy that lived 2 doors down, he was a IT for Kodak, and what he would do is he was an Ethiopian guy, and he would take home all the stuff that Kodak was going to throw out, and he'd go in his basement and he'd build computers. So we had some friends that were his sons, and we'd go over there and play LAN games like Doom and Duke Nukem 3D and stuff like that. And actually, he helped me build my first computer when I was like 17. And the first thing I did was put NASCAR 2000 and whatever. I don't even remember what year it was. 2000, NASCAR 2000.
I think NASCAR 2000. Yeah.
So that was my first sim racing, right? But that was like, I didn't have a steering wheel. It was just me jamming left and right on the D-pad or on the keyboard, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember those days. Yeah.
And everybody's jumping everywhere. It was terrible. But and then I joined the Coast Guard a couple of years after that. So, come full circle, I got my degree in the Coast Guard while I was in information system security, and then transitioned over into that field as well. So I'm actually going to be leaving tomorrow to go up to New York and do some different disaster recovery. Dave talked about cloud backup. So I do the groundwork for, like if a company gets ransomware, I go in and clean them out and fix everything, and then use his cloud backups to fix it all. So we kind of work hand in hand. I haven't necessarily worked with Dave, but that type of field or whatever. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Somebody that'd be in his position, you'd be doing you'd be working with somebody just like him.
Yep, absolutely. Working with people to repair stuff.
That's pretty awesome. So kind of backtracking it up to the whole NASCAR thing, right? Like, so did you play online?
Oh yeah, it was dial up. Yeah, cars were jumping everywhere. It was terrible.
See, I played video games. Like, I always considered myself a gamer kid, but I always just played with like the neighbor kids or like my friends, or just do like solo missions, or like, like for like first person shooter games or something like that. Or like if NASCAR, I would just do like the career mode or anything like that. I never ever played anything online until like, oh man, I'm going to say I was probably like 22 or 23 or something like that. And I was at work and I was talking to one of my coworkers and I was like, oh yeah, I got Call of Duty. And he was like, well, do you play online? And I was like, online? And I was like, no, I don't play online. That like, cause I'd played one time online and like the graphics were like really bad and everything. Like I had real weak internet. So I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like that was kind of my thought process, right? I was like, it must suck. And then all of a sudden I just started playing online, and I've never played like by myself again after that. Every time I play any type of video game or something like that, it's always with people ever since then.
always played like NASCAR games, always played shooters, always did that. When Halo first came out, me and Dave were all over it. We've played online gaming since the dawn of the ability to do so. I think it really. I mean, my best man was a guy I met playing video games online. So that's an interesting.
That's a weird story. What? Go into that one.
What was like the first probably game online that you could actually play? Was it like something like a Doom, like a first person shooter? Or
well, the first time I remember actually going online and playing multiplayer online was Rainbow Six on the PC. That's the first one I remember going online to play. I knew you could LAN party in the same house, but
Rainbow Six, that was a Tom Clancy one, right?
Yeah. It's a PC-based game too, but console-wise, the first one you could play online was Halo, and you had to hook it to a PC and use what they called GameSpy, and this was like 2001, 2002, and you had to use GameSpy. So if they put that into perspective, in the last 20 years, we're so enthralled with this world that we live in now where everybody's online and playing games, but in 2001, 20 years ago, you couldn't even barely get online. You had to go through another service to do it. So it's interesting how far we've come so fast.
Yeah, I hear it. What's so crazy is I remember when I was a kid, my parents used to always be when I play video games, they're like, "Oh, stop playing those video games. You're not going to ever make any money at that." And I see these video gamer Twitch kids and stuff like that that are making millions and millions of dollars. It's just see, I could have been that.
We would have been those kids had that shit existed back then, but it doesn't. It didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. But now it's one of those things because I have two kids, right? One of them, my oldest one, is super, super, super into video games. And it's I can't be well, you're never going to make any money at this. But at the same time, it's I don't want him to just play nothing but video games. I want him to do other stuff too. And then my youngest one, I feel like he's more into it because of his older brother is into it, but I feel like he's kind of more he wants to go outside and do stuff and stuff like that more often than not.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
My oldest is way different than my youngest. I was just thinking the same.
Oh, yeah. They're just night and day difference. Yeah. Same thing with me and my sister. I mean, obviously there's a big giant age gap between me and my sister. She's 6.5 years older than me, but my two kids are a year and a half apart, or a year and 9 months apart, or something like that.
How old are you, Bri?
I'm 35. I'll be 36 in March.
Gotcha. I'm 37. Joe's be 40 in August.
Okay. Then how old are so are you number 2 or are you number 3 in the family?
I'm the middle child.
Yeah. Oh, because I thought you said you had 2 younger brothers.
No, just one other younger brother.
Just one of the one. Okay, yeah, middle child. Yeah, actually, one of my best friends, his name's Steven. The whole reason I didn't want to have 3 kids was because of him, because he's a middle child, and I was like, I do not want to have one like him.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we flocked together. A lot of my very, very, very good friends were all middle children, and all even May birthdays too. A lot of us, very, very weird. Yeah.
May, let's see, so must have been.
It was August. It's the August race.
Early winter. August race. At the tent camping. Well, there's nothing else to do, I guess.
I think it's a 24-hour at the Glen, actually.
Dave was created at the Glen.
So about that. So you guys grew up in the Newark area, or the north. I should say the northeast area. Where exactly did you guys grow up at?
Yeah, in Rochester, which is in New York. A lot of people who aren't from the area or from New York think of New York as the city, but in upstate New York, where we grew up, is about 8 hours from down in the city. So even Bicino is from up north, Watertown area, up in there. That's about 3-4 hours from us. So New York's a huge state.
Oh yeah, well it's like California. Everybody thinks when they think California, they think San Francisco and LA, but there's just tons and tons and tons of area that is nothing like either one of those 2 cities.
Yeah, I spent some time in Petaluma, but what you were saying was that we let's see, what year, Dave, do you think Dad went to the first NASCAR race? It was without us originally. The first time they went, I asked him about this not too long ago, but the first time they went was 85, I believe.
And I don't think they were there in 85. I think they got back there in 86, but so he was definitely there then. I know, I can remember being there with Drew in diapers, and he was born in 87. So that means we would have had it in February. So he would probably have been the 88 race is our first one.
When did they stop racing Formula One cars there?
They stopped the U.S. Grand Prix in like the 70s, Bry. So Watkins Glen has a wild history, and it's funny that you bring up the F1 cars because it ends there shortly after. Like the Watkins Glen is known for the bog, and they have like a hospitality thing called the bog inside turn 11 or 7, however you want to call it, the last turn there. Now It's been there for years, but that's a play off the name of a runoff ditch in the boot that during the U.S. Grand Prix in the 70s, they would fucking charge like $10 to go camp where there's no facilities down in the boot, and you would just camp in the fucking woods and hoof it, and there would be 106,000 people that would be there. And then, it always rains there, and this is in the fall, and then the drainage runoff ditch, they'd start to run cars and shit through there, and if you didn't get all the way through, you would have to abandon your car, and they would burn it. So in like 74... Jesus. Yeah, in 74 is the major one, and Fittipaldi is winning. It's the last race of the year, the U.S. Grand Prix there, and they go there, and the Brazilians all chartered a flight to like New York City and then brought a bus up. And he doesn't win the race, but he ends up winning the world championship there. He finishes like third or something, and they actually had like a death that happened on the backstretch. A dude went right through the Armco barrier.
He went under the gate. It was in the movie. It was in that movie.
He gets decapitated. He's like a young Swede.
It was in a doc. Yeah, it was in the documentary too that I watched. What was that? Well, it was the same thing. It was in the movie, but it was also
in Rush, right?
Yeah, it was in Rush, but then it was also in the documentary that essentially kind of inspired Rush too. Can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, it was a young Frenchman, like you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so that in 74 is like the famous one. So needless to say, they got up there. All the Brazilians go out into like the pit area and everything. The bus driver leaves. They all go down to check out. Because back then you could just walk wherever the hell you wanted. You can go back in the back area, look at the pits and the cars and everything. They steal the bus, drive it down to the bog, flip it over, and burn it. And nobody comes and puts it out. So it's burning for like 2 days down there. And it's just like the wildest party, obviously, around. So they had to bring in like state riot police and everything the next day, and it was shortly shut down like 3 years after that. They haven't ran there since. They do like a vintage Grand Prix every year now, which I'd like to go to. I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, now you got we're gonna have 2 U.S. Grand Prix. I think starting next year. There's gonna be one in Miami and also the one at Coda, the track that we just ran at last night.
Yeah, Mr. Dominant.
Oh, thank you. Where were you, D? Wright?
Listen, man, I was running and I did not run last, so I overachieved.
Oh, you were in the race.
Yeah, I was there. I don't know the track, so it's tough. You know what I mean? Without knowing the layout.
Yeah, it's definitely a tougher track because one, not knowing the layout, and then it's really flat, so you kind of like your braking points. Like I use everything on like the right, out of my side windows is what I'm using for like my braking points for pretty much everything. Yeah, and it's definitely a tough track, but it's fun. It seems like you should be going faster around the track, around certain sections, but you're going plenty fast.
Yeah, me and Joe were saying, I think the key to it is it's a poetry in motion track. You just got to be very rhythmic with it.
Yeah, try to let the car roll as much as possible.
Exactly.
And definitely rear tires, trying to save them as much as possible was definitely the biggest thing that would definitely help. I had no rear tires, and same with Cameron Austin. I was screw up his name. Cameron Austin, he saved his rear tires a little bit more in the beginning of the run. He was able to run me back down, and man, that was a hell of a finish. I almost screwed it up and was almost my standard bridesmaid coming across the start again.
I did pretty well till the damn halfway point, and then I restarted 6th, I think, behind Logan, and I let Brandon White go by me, and we were going through the S's, and for whatever reason, Brandon White just drove straight through the S's, and I was following him because he was in front of me, and then I realized, wait, he's not turning, he's going straight. So I cranked it right to like stay on track and go through the S's. And when I cranked it right, I started to lose it, and I just lost it, went all the way around. And I didn't want to pull back on track in the S's in front of everybody, so I let everyone go by. And I think I got back on track like 22nd and got back up to, I think I finished 13th or something like that. But it, man, that sucked because I was really looking for that top 10 finish there.
That's a decent recovery, though. But yeah, I think he actually showed that on the broadcast. I think he showed you, Brandon White, and somebody else battling it out.
Yeah, and I just stopped. There's a point where he's in the broadcast, and you can see everybody going through the S's, and I'm just sitting there stopped. I just didn't want to pull out in front of nobody and ruin their race.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. I had an early butt pucker moment when Sylvain Seguin, he went off the track and he came right back on, and me, Michelle, and Austin were just all nose to tail, and then we're coming out of that small S section after, was it turn 12, 13, 14, kind of the little combination of corners right there near the big giant tower. And he was spun out right in front of us, and I swerved to miss him. But right as we go to do it, he resets. So, and then Michelle locks up his brakes. Cameron Austin misses the whole thing. I go off track, and it was all caught on the broadcast. It was definitely a butt pucker moment, that's for sure.
Definitely a Sylvain moment.
Yeah, he's not the best at road courses, but you won't hear him deny it. That's for sure.
Right.
But at least on Tuesday, he didn't wind up on his roof. And in the truck series, I honestly thought that you had a damn good shot to win it. I felt like a couple of those cautions definitely kind of killed the chance that you had. Yeah,
the caution killed me. I was out to a 1.5 second lead there, and that last 2 cautions really killed it. And then I was third, I think, after we got going, and there was another one, and I knew everybody behind me had fresh tires, and we kept getting cautions. So I took tires, but it didn't help. It was too late.
Yeah, it's so hard to pass there. You had to have really either big giant difference in tires, or the person had to make a mistake, and that's pretty much it.
For sure.
It's the only way to pass. I had a lot of front end damage early on in just my little one-off truck race. I don't plan. Well, I might run on Tuesday if few people show up. If Michelle or Cameron Austin or any one of those super fast guys, I'll race. But if none of those guys show up, I won't race on Tuesday.
Where are we at Tuesday?
Coda again.
I'm excited for it in the trucks.
I think all the ringers got to stay away. See what us crappy drivers can do there.
Yeah, and see, that's why I was thinking, okay, I won't. But if Michelle shows up, obviously he's just going to run away with it unless there's somebody else there. But at the same time, I also don't know. I know that that one guy who drives the 99, or he's the 099 technically. Was it Clint Stone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know he's really fast. I don't know how he is on a road course, but I know he's really fast on oval. So we'll see how he does there if he ends up racing with us on Tuesday. So we'll see, but more than likely I'll probably be back up in the booth with Josh.
Don't let Joe bully you. It's your league, man. You do what you want.
Well, no, I brought it up. I said I wasn't planning on running on Tuesday just because, if I'm out there and none of those guys are out there, I'm not saying I'm just going to run away with it, but I don't.
There's only one person in the league I bully.
And yeah, well, everybody bullies him, and he deserves to be bullied.
So. You guys are probably talking about 2 different people.
Are we talking about Cody?
Yeah, I was talking about Cody.
Yeah. he's half of the network that we're on. Yeah.
So I got an idea for your next season, and I'm just going to throw this out there on the podcast so people can hear it because I think it's a great idea. I think you were talking about when you do the truck series and whatever. I don't know if you're doing Xfinity or not, but whatever the other series is, the other one, you were saying that you were thinking about making it so that you can only run one or the other and not both.
Yeah.
I think you should allow everybody to run both, but then give them a week before the playoffs, 1 week off before the playoffs, where they have to decide which championship they want to run for.
That's exactly actually what I'm doing.
Sweet. Perfect.
Yeah. That way, because everybody, kind of oh, well, maybe I had to miss a couple Tuesday races, so now I'm not eligible, or I got a better chance at running in truck versus Xfinity, and it will be Xfinity again next year too, until they fix or get the next gen cars right to where it's not just because right now they don't really know. Yeah, they're terrible, and I think the Xfinity and the trucks are 2 perfect cars to race or truck cars to race in the game right now, and sim. And so for right now, until further notice, that'll be our series that we run is on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Do you think that the pedals and steering wheels matter?
100%. What do you mean? Like
a guy running a G27 versus a guy running a direct drive, or some G920 pedals versus Fanatec. Do you think that there's a distinct advantage over those guys?
I think so.
Okay.
I think like if you have a direct drive wheel, you're gonna feel a lot more in the wheel for sure. And then also with the pedals, like because like the V3 pedals and stuff like that, like you can adjust them and everything like that. And then it's more like, and I think you can even add shit to them. Like when you hit on the brake, if you start wheel hopping, it'll feel the vibration in in the pedal.
Right.
And it stuff like that. It's all just little shit. It's just little stuff that'll just kind of make you go faster. I mean, I just have a T300 wheel. I don't have anything super special. It's it's a decent wheel. I started racing with just a 150, just a plastic wheel. But the whole reason I bought the 300 is because I couldn't stand the tiny plastic wheel.
What wheel do you have on it, Brian? I have the same one.
I got the Ferrari wheel.
Oh, you got the Ferrari. Yeah, I got the Sparco wheel.
See, I wanted to get that, but they were sold out. Yeah. And then I actually broke the shifters on this one, or the upshift, because I used to shift super hard, and now I realize you don't have to do that. But you're just in the moment. You're like, oh, get him. Like if you shift harder, you're gonna go faster. So like I kind of bent it, and then when I went to go bent it back, I screwed something up. So then sometimes I'd be like trying to race, and it wouldn't upshift. So I was like, oh shit. And then me, Colin, and Cody were doing a Bathurst race, 1,000 Bathurst, 1,000 mile or kilometers. I don't know what the hell they call it. Bathurst 1,000. I was like, shit, I'm going to definitely have to be able to shift at that race. So I freaking rush ordered a wheel, and they didn't have the spare coat one. So I just got another Ferrari one.
The pedals that I was telling you about in Discord, though, those T3 PAs, obviously they're probably not as good as Fanatec, but for an affordable upgrade, way better than even the Pro Thrustmasters and the other ones.
Yeah, see, I have I don't know what mine are. Mine just have like a little door stop adjuster for the brake pedal.
Brian, go read the reviews on the T3 PA or go to YouTube videos. Like, it's universally phenomenal.
What do they cost you, right?
They're around $200.
But you're paying
what I have.
What are the?
I doubt it. These just came out like a year ago. Not even.
Yeah, no, I bought these.
Yeah, these have slider adjusters and different colors on them.
What do the V3s cost? The Fanatec V3. What do they cost? 250, 500,
400 or 500. I thought.
Yeah, because I know. Cody is all about the Fanatec. He's like, anytime you talk anything has to do with a wheel or pedal, he's like Fanatec.
Well, that's why I asked, because I mean, I think since he got that stuff, I feel like he's gotten faster and better.
Oh yeah,
just from my. I mean, he still makes terrible decisions, like barreling into people at Coda, but that's besides the point. He's gotten better, and you can definitely tell the difference. And I didn't know if it was that or if he's just putting in the practice.
Speaking of freaking horrible decisions at Coda, freaking Logan, dude, that fucking poor guy is gonna have like war flashbacks for the rest of his life anytime he hits a road course. Anytime somebody mentions turn 12. Did you watch all the replays after the race? Like him either almost getting hit or like getting hit or and everything was in turn 12. Anytime somebody's like, dude, watch this happen in turn 12, every time it involved Logan. It was just, none of it was his fault. Like he was just out there minding his own business, clean race. I'll bet you 90% of all the X's that he got were because of somebody else running into him.
He literally said to me during the race, I don't know how I'm doing this, but every time I get near somebody, I get really nervous. And I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, and you're behind me right now, and you're making me nervous. So just stop, like don't talk about it, just race.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That poor guy. It was just like when we were watching the videos, I was just dying laughing afterwards. That's why I made that one little meme of like the dog seeing like the war flashbacks and stuff like that.
So Brian, you do some real life racing, right?
Yeah. I raced at so we actually raced in, I think we got a race in 5 weeks. It's the February 11th, 12th, and 13th at Cinema Raceway, and then we just raced 2 months ago out at Thunder Hill, but we ended up getting something broke in the steering, and my dad just kind of lost control of the car because he had no control of the steering and spun out and just got kind of not really T-boned, but a good solid hit in the front and kind of just fucked everything up in the front end. But it's all fixed, and we'll be back out there next month.
Nice.
How'd you get into that, Brian?
So I started racing way, way, way back when my dad used to race dirt track back in in the 80s. and all the way up until the 90s, and then he stopped racing, but he still always had the car just because we have a shop. It's kind of out, kind of in the middle of nowhere, kind of like where we're at. And the guy who owned the property was like, yeah, you can keep it out there for like an extra $20 a month or something, right? So we have it's a big giant roll-up door shop, and it used to be an apple, well, it still is an apple orchard, but it's got a bunch of bays, and like it used to, like where they used to make the applesauce, but they stopped production there and they moved it to somewhere else. Now they just truck all the apples out of there, but we have like a big giant shop. You can probably fit like probably 6 cars down, and then it's probably, I don't know, maybe another 15 feet high or something like that. And then I just kept nagging on him. Like when I was older, you know, I was 18 years old. I was like, hey, let's get the car going. Let's get the car going. And then finally got the car back out there, and we started dirt track racing in 04 or 03. I can't remember exactly what year it was. And that's how I got like into dirt racing. But now my dad actually works for, like, that's actually what he does for a living now, is he actually works for like a pro race team, Joe Car Racing. And so he works on race cars all the time, and his boss found this RX-7 for him. And then he was like, oh, you can do SCCA racing, or you can do this Lucky Dog racing, which is the endurance racing. It's meant to be like cheap and affordable, but in reality, it's really not. It's still super expensive. But I mean, just the entry fee alone. I mean, if you want to make anything more expensive, just add the word race in front of it. You know, it started off as from what I understand, there was. I mean, you've all heard of the 24-hour lemons, right?
Yep.
So the person who created Lucky Dog apparently somehow branched off of there. I'm not sure. I've heard different stories. I'm not gonna bash anybody because I have no idea exactly like if there was any bad blood or anything like that or whatever happened. So I just know that they branched off, and she ended up starting this series. And I think there was another series that was started too in between. But anyway, so this series, and it's a lady that actually created it. And it was meant to be just kind of like run what you brung, you know, and it's not like, you know, the 24-hour lemons where you got to keep it under $500, right? This is like just show up with whatever you got. You don't have to show us any book. And then when you go out there and do some laps, we'll put you in a class to figure out, like, it's all speed based, right? Like there's class A, which are the freaking ridiculously fast guys. Backtrack it up. But like, again, you know, like a car like we have, right? Probably when the series started, we would probably be like a mid-pack car. As of right now, this season, we are probably one of the bottom 5 or 6 slowest cars out of 100 cars.
There's that many cars racing.
Yeah, 100.
You guys out?
There's 100 cars. It depends on the track, but at Sonoma and Thunder Hill, it's 100 cars.
Wow. And where else do they go, Brian? So that league is it mainly West Coast based, or does that travel?
It travels around a little bit, but not too much. I know last year they raced out at Daytona and the Roval, and I think they might have done. No, they didn't do Watkins Glen. I think they did VIR.
So is that equivalent to like the Chump cars, Brian?
Yeah, but it's the same kind of simpler thing.
Okay.
I don't think they call them Chump cars anymore. I think they're called Champ cars now. I think they changed yeah. But they changed the name of that. But I think the Champ car, whatever, I think that was another one of those leagues where they try to keep the cost down, whereas this one, it's like you can spend whatever. Like we were out there racing, you know, we got just a 1986, you know, Mazda RX-7 with a bone stock 12A motor, and that with like a carburetor that runs like shit, and every time you shut the car off, it backfires. Literally, we'd pull up into the pits, and then people plug their ears because it would just go bang, just big backfire coming out. And then there'd be cars that were out there racing on the track with there's like an 800 or 900 horsepower freaking Mustang out there with a big giant wing, big giant splitter on the front. There's an Evo that's I mean, I don't even know. It's all-wheel drive, and I mean, the thing is probably at least 600-700 horsepower. I mean, there's guys that spend a lot of money out there. The only rule is the car can't be newer than 15 years old. That's the only rule. And then, I mean, performance-wise, everything after that, it's all safety.
Any SUVs?
No, there's a couple station wagons.
All right. I mean, I got a Forester XT, man. I'm trying to throw this thing in a race.
It's got to be 15 years. It's got to be 15 years old, though.
Yeah, it's got to be 15 years old. Well, I'll bet you the lemons. There you go. right there. You can do the lemons.
They got 15-year-old Fozzys with stick shifts that'll giddy up.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, is there Subies and stuff out there?
Oh yeah, there's all. Well, I don't
all-wheel drive type guys.
I've only seen 2 Evos. So at the race at Thunderhill, it's a 2-day race. So you run, it's 8 hours on Saturday and then 7 hours on Sunday, or 1,000 miles, whatever comes first. And then at Sonoma, it's 8 hours and 7 hours also, but it's 2 separate races. And it rained on Sunday in the Sunday race. So the Evo won. And I've only seen 2 Evos.
These cars are making it through that many hours. I mean, are their mechanical failures pretty?
Oh yeah. It's all about survival. Like I said, at Sonoma, we were one of the slowest 5 cars. Like if you just take everybody's fastest lap time, right? Like, because you have 4 to 6 drivers per car. We actually only had 3, I think, at Sonoma, but we were probably the 5th slowest car out on the track. But, like I'd get in the car. I was the fastest guy on my team. So like I get in the car and there'd be slower guys in other cars, like, just because it's all driver. You can put one guy in the car and he's going to go 10 seconds faster than another guy, even though they're in a slower car, than versus the other car. I'm confusing the shit out of myself. But yeah, so we were like the 5th slowest car, but we still ended up finishing like in the top 30 or something like that out of 100. Yeah, because it's just cars braking left and right. And every time you come into the pits, no matter what, whether it's for a fuel stop or just to look at something to fix anything, it's mandatory 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. So it's no so there's no advantage, is what you're saying?
Exactly. Because, if you go that route, then you're going to have teams with like quick fuel fuel systems and stuff like that. And they're just going to we just have like little gas cans and we're just trying to fill up that tank. But I'll tell you what, rotary engines suck a lot of gas.
So do you think you lose a lot of time on pit road because you're having to hit pit road so often?
Well,
like fuel mileage wise?
Well, that's another thing too, is you cannot run more than 2 hours. So you're required to pit with. So once you go back out on the track, there's a timer that starts for you, right? It's all computerized, right? You have to pit within 2 hours, otherwise you get black flagged.
Oh, interesting.
And then your 10-minute pit stop turns into like a 15-minute pit stop, and they stop counted your laps. Yeah. So it all adds up. It's just a way to try to make more of a level playing field competition. Right. And there's 3 divisions. There's A, B, and C, and we're in the C.
You ready to buy this all-wheel drive Subi and get it ready for Daytona?
You don't even need to do that. The kid that used to work for me that was in the Chump Series, they would run at the Glen, and he had like early 90s Beamer 3 Series that was just gutted.
Yeah, I mean, you can run that. There's everything out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's Porsches out there. I mean, obviously the older, no 911s. It's all like the 944s and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's Porsches, there's Volvos, there's Volkswagens, there's a Volkswagen bus that races out at Sonoma. Yeah, he normally races in the Lemons. That one's actually kind of funny. It's like it says like Policia on the side. They painted it like a Mexican cop van. It's white and green. Oh, dude, it's fucking hilarious. I'm assuming that they're Latino. I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know. What is that, like cultural appropriation? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, what year was your blue Subaru?
I was in 11.
2011?
Yeah, it was an 11.
Nice. What kind was it, WRX or?
Yeah, it was a WRX.
Nice. I remember I wanted one so bad. When I wanted to buy the STI, the WRX and stuff like that, and they wouldn't even let me test drive it until they ran like my credit check.
Bro, the funniest story is when I actually bought this car, I went to test drive it. I'd never driven a stick before, and we're driving. The guy did. We get maybe a quarter mile down the road. He goes, pull in the parking lot. Pull in the parking lot. All right. We pull in the parking lot, and we're fucking around in the parking lot. And he's like essentially teaching me how to drive stick. We go back to the the lot, and he's like, "There's no fucking way this kid's buying this car, right?" And he's like, "So what do you think?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, where the fucking papers at? Let's do
Dude, I remember when I learned how to drive a clutch. It was with my mom in a it was like an abandoned movie theater parking lot, and the only videos I'd ever seen of like people like driving with a clutch is NASCAR, and you rev it up and you dump it, right? So that was how I was taking off. I'd shift through the gears fine, but when I go to take off, it'd be like, spinning the gears. We had like it was like a 1980, it was like an 88 or 87 Ford Escort. We called it the Silver Bullet. It was silver. Obviously it was silver. That's why we called it the Silver Bullet. But it was what I drove like when I was before I got my first car in high school.
That's funny. My first car was a white Ford station wagon that my parents let me drive. But then my first owned car was a red Ford Probe GT. It was a 96 GT.
Stick?
It was fun.
Was it a stick?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you guys both know how to drive sticks. That's good.
Yeah.
Now
I actually didn't even get my license till I was 19 because I wasn't going to be caught dead in the Ford station wagon, no less driving.
Or the fact that he was drunk the whole time from 16 to 19 might have had something to do with it.
That'll help. What like station wagon was it like a Ford Taurus type one?
Yep, that one. The third row with you look out the back. Very safe.
So no, more like they're boxy. Like some of them had like the wood paneling on the side.
No, so we had that, but you hit it right, Brian. It was a white Ford Taurus station wagon, but it had the where the wheel would be under the back normally.
Car.
So where the spare wheel would be in the back, that would fold up, and there was a seat, a 2-seater, where you would put your feet down in the wheel well, and you look out the back window.
Oh man, dude, the shit equipment back then just always cracks me up. Like
you get rear-ended your dad in that thing. Dude.
I know. Dude. One of my parents' friends, they had this one station wagon. I forget it was in the 80s. It was like those wood panel type of ones, but it had the like it wasn't really a third row because there was 2 rows on each side, right? So you'd like sit in the back, and if you look to your left. If you were sitting on the passenger side, you'd look out the back window. If you look to your right, you'd be looking out the front window. And it was free. No, it wasn't a limo. It was just a normal station wagon. And remember, we used to drive around with the window down, and you'd get sleepy on the car rides. And you get there, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sleepy."
Dude, I don't think I ever wore a seatbelt in the back seat as a kid that I can remember. Like even in the way back of the Ford Taurus station wagon, there's no chance I was wearing a seatbelt.
See, that's one thing. It was always weird. It's always like my first inclination or incognition,
inclination.
Yeah, that word. That's always my first thing. Whenever I get in a car, I always put my seatbelt on. Sometimes I'll literally just be driving one like side of the parking lot to the other. It's like a natural reaction. I've never not done that.
Same here.
Yeah, I put mine on in the back seat specifically. Even now, I always have.
Yeah.
As a kid, though, we didn't. There was no chance we did. I mean, I remember distinctly watching Drew climb across the seats while the car was moving, and Dad saying some shit like, "If I gotta pull this car over and whoop your ass," that kind of thing. Because you could say that to your kid back then. You can't say that shit now; they'll call the cops on you.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Bunch of pussy kids these days. That's for sure. Or it's not so much the kids. It's just the older adults. They're just fucking pussies.
Yeah, it's different.
Raised by all the damn hippies, and they all want to like, oh, don't hate your kid. Fuck, I was beat to shit, and I fucking turned out all right.
That's the thing I don't get is you have all these people that say change this, don't do that, but everybody's just working just fine right now.
I know, but I mean, I'm not saying like. I'm not saying come home and like beat the shit out of your kid, like take the day out on him. But like
you gotta take a couple days off at least.
Yeah,
right?
You know what I mean. But like, hey, stupid, give him a good little smack, but don't like come home and like just beating the shit out of him. Don't do that. That's bad.
I don't think we ever really got beat. I think I was scared shitless of my dad. I never got hit or beat. I don't think, but I was definitely scared of him. because it felt like we were disciplined enough, to know what the right from wrong was, and if we were wrong, we actually, they followed through with some sort of punishment or whatever it would be. There was a consequence for your actions. I think that's what we lack now is like a consequence for actions. People could do whatever the fuck they want and they get away with it. So
yeah, I mean, you got to have a little bit. They got to be a little bit scared of you. Once they're not scared of you anymore, they just go. And then they look at you, and then he's just like, I just want to beat the shit out of him. And I guarantee, I mean, my parents never like beat the shit out of me, but definitely I got hit with a wooden spoon quite a bit, and then the soap in the mouth whenever I said something bad. What'd you guys get? Soap or Tapatio or hot sauce?
Bar soap.
Bar soap. Yeah, I got the bar soap.
Hanger, the spoon, all of it,
Yeah. What am I?
Dave got the hanger a lot from our grandma.
The hanger? What do you mean?
Like a wire hanger.
Wire hanger
off there and fucking whop him with it.
Oh, like hit you with it. Okay. I got you. I thought you meant like in your mouth. I was like, well, that
that's like a capital punishment, bro.
Fucking some fish.
She wasn't fishing me.
She's like jamming it in there. Ah! Oh man. Well, speaking of beating the shit out of children, what do you guys think of next season for the NASCAR series?
I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it specifically for the Glen because I want to see next gen on the road with the brakes, the bigger hubs, the whole nine. I think it's going to be a game changer. They're definitely going to set records.
Something I noticed was they're wider too, right? Like I don't even think in iRacing they've got them to scale yet. They're definitely wider. If you look at them at Atlanta yesterday or today, I guess the cars are wider, a lot wider than you think than the ones previously.
I forget how many inches. I was watching something the other day about how much wider. Like they're quite a few inches wider and they're quite a few inches shorter, which is probably going to make him. Obviously, it's going to give him a lower center of gravity, so they're probably going to flip a lot less. I'm kind of excited to just see what's going to happen. I mean, this is either going to be a total failure or it's going to be like the best thing that they've done.
Yeah, I think the reversal on the horsepower package is huge.
Yeah, what 650 now?
Yeah, 670.
670. Yeah, that's good.
670 with a 4-inch spoiler. They said 4-inch spoiler, but then the pictures I saw today at Atlanta looked like the damn spoiler was 8 inches long. So I don't know if they're going to run something different at Atlanta or what.
I have a feeling that I think they were just kind of like testing, breaking in the track and like just kind of feeling it out before they actually kind of like let them actually like rip out there, because it's a new surface. People have no idea how it's going to handle, but it seems to me like Atlanta is just going to be like a mini Daytona.
Yeah, I think so. The thing that I saw interesting about how the new configuration was the number of feet they cut off in the corners. So you only have 28 feet between the wall and the apron, where they had 55 feet previously. So, or something like that. It's something crazy like that. 28 degrees of banking. Maybe it's 40 feet, but still, it's a lot less than what it was previously in the corners.
Yeah, which when I first heard that, I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, it's going to be like Darlington, but apparently that's actually the same width as like Daytona.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's all about the banking. It like encompasses the car. It's, you know what I mean? It's the curvature of the actual corner.
Yeah, I don't think it's definitely not as banked as Daytona, but it's just as wide. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but apparently I just watched a video, like they didn't ask any of the drivers about it or anything like that, or like get any of their input or anything like that on it, which I think is just stupid.
Yeah, but did you see the video of them pouring water on the
That is dope. That is awesome.
That is a great thing. Because Dave and I both know after going to Talladega and watching that shit show on Sunday, it's great. Tell
me what happened. I didn't see it.
No,
the water stuff. I didn't see it.
When they pour the water on the concrete, Dave, it seeps into it, and there's a drainage system underneath. They barely will have to dry it. There will be no standing water at all.
Yeah, like literally you can go out there with like a blow dryer and like probably blow dry off like half a corner within like 10 minutes.
It's like not going to take 2 or 3 hours like it would.
Yeah, they can literally just run like probably like 2 or 3 jet dryers, like 2-3 laps around, boom, be done, be back out there running. And also, well, the big benefit to it is you won't get the weepers anymore. And then because of that, it won't cause any erosion underneath the track, so it actually should even make the tracks last longer. So you won't have like big potholes and stuff coming up anymore.
I'm wondering how well it's going to work once there's rubber laid down, filling in some of that, spongeness of the track though too. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously you get a big enough rain, it's going to go right away real quick.
Right.
Well, actually, I don't know. It might even plug up. Yeah, I guess only time will tell. We'll have to see because I mean, there's definitely going to be rain races there for sure. So we're going to find out real soon.
Yeah, it might be something where they have to treat it too after every race. They just they got to go power wash it or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
They got to go out there and run some of those pressure washer like jet dryer type of things. Like they're gonna have to make one up just to go around and to blow it out. And hopefully Juan Pablo Montoya's not there to run into it. And...
I'll never forget that.
Yeah. So who's your guys' well, I know Wright. I know your favorite driver.
It's the Candyman, man.
Yeah. Well, only Candyman for what, another year or two, and that's it.
Gone, right? send him out on top.
Yeah.
Send him out on top.
I think he retires after a couple more seasons. I don't think he's around much longer, personally.
I'll bet you he's well, I mean, what do you think? Harvick's probably going to retire in 2 seasons.
And based on the Dale Jr. download, he's got like 2. He said would he have till 23? 23
is his final contracted season. I think he's done after that. He might do some part-time stuff because a lot of drivers are doing that these days. But I think he's got 2 years left. I think Busch has got 5 years left.
At least 5.
Yeah. So that's a good number of years left.
Yeah.
If not more.
Right. It's a whole nother sponsorship deal, and the whole next gen car, I would imagine.
Yeah. Who's your favorite
driver? I was a DW fan, and then I was a Junior fan, and now I picked up Ryan Blaney when Junior retired.
Okay. Yeah, Sam.
So Blaney was in the 21 when I started liking him, and he moved over to Penske like the season. I'm pretty sure the season that Junior retired, he moved to Penske. So
okay.
So Joe and all the 12-year-old girls like Blaney.
What made you like each one of your drivers?
So Waltrip. Let's see. So Dave was a Petty fan, and I was a Waltrip fan. That was back in the day. And I think the Tide car was what got me stuck on him originally. I just liked the look of it. And then when he retired, I think that that was shortly before, right after Senior died. Was before because he called that race. So I don't know why I moved to Junior, but it was. I think we saw him in the what I think they called it the Busch Series back then. But we saw him at the Glen in the Busch Series, and I think I picked up on him there. Yeah, the Baby Ruth car. I think Baby Ruth was Jeff Gordon, but anyway, I think I just started liking him back then. And then when DEI started getting going, he was the Budweiser kid. He had the the Slim Shady haircut and all that stuff, and that was that was the shit back then. So I have pictures. I'll send some to you.
Maybe it was on the AC Delco, Joe. The AC Delco.
Yeah, that's what it was, and the Oreo 8 as well. But yeah, I picked up on it then. I think. And just got on the Junior bandwagon way back then. And then I moved to Blaney. I really moved to Blaney because I wanted a Ford driver. I wanted to get away from Hendrick and see. But I couldn't stand Logano. Brad was okay, but Blaney seemed like a guy that was an up and comer, and I think he's going to do well. He's had pretty consistent seasons. He's been in the playoffs every season. He's been with them, so we'll see. He's got a lot to grow still too.
Yeah, he's the only driver I like, or I guess Kozlowski's not at Penske anymore, but I couldn't stand Kozlowski or Logano, either one of them.
I liked Petty from the beginning, was always a fan of the King growing up, and then our father was a Jeff Bodine fan, so I like Jeff Bodine a lot, obviously, and he was from upstate New York, so when coming to the Glen, he was always a fan favorite when we would go up there. And then I was actually on the Keselowski train a little bit in the early 20s just because I would drink Miller Lights and liked it. And then the Kyle Busch stuff was like he dominated the Glen from early 07, 08. I think he won 08 and won in 13, but from 08 to even now, he's single thing is top 5. There's been races there that I've been at where he's dominated. His crew's put a lug nut between the car and the tire and the hub. He's had to come back, start from the back, come back all the way up to the front, and just the domination there is what got me onto him. So, and then I mean, even the stuff with Bubba being an idiot last couple of years and spinning him like that whole race, he was dominant as well, and they ruined it. So
yeah, Kyle's pretty dominant at Sonoma too. He's pretty damn good. I was actually there when he that year he won the championship where he got hurt, and then that was his win to get into the chase.
Exactly, yeah.
The championship. Yep. Yeah, I was there for that one. He dominated that race, that's for sure.
Are you a Hamlin fan, Knuutti?
No, definitely not.
That's Brian Merle, right?
Yeah, he's a big giant Hamlin fan. So I was an Earnhardt fan, and then I started actually before he even died because I watched IndyCar or IRL. So I was a Tony Stewart fan in there, and then when I heard he was coming over to the Cup Series or to NASCAR, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome," you know. And so like I was always rooting for him, and then when Dale died, like he kind of instantly just kind of became my favorite driver was Tony Stewart till he retired. Well, and then Kyle Larson has always, because he grew up racing around in this area where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So he was always kind of like one of those guys. It's kind of same situation. I was always rooting for him. And then Tony Stewart retired, and it's just like, you know, it's like shit. Like he's my, you know, Kyle Larson is probably my favorite driver, but I still always root for an SHR driver. And so like it's one of those four or Kyle I want to see win every week. So I got 5 drivers that I'm always rooting for.
That's cool. So my thing with the Hendrick boys now is Bowman doesn't do anything for me. Byron, right? Like they're there. Where's the personality in these guys? Where did there was personalities in the guys? Yeah, well, there was personalities in those guys in the day. But the problem is that you get somebody with a personality. We'll use Matt DiBenedetto for example. Dave will call him a crybaby, and I agree. Bro,
this dude is the biggest crybaby around. Is the woe is me to the woe is me to the woe is me. Like, it's unbelievable.
But the second the race is over, he's got to make a post about it on.
I finished 21st. Yeah, bro, we get it. You do every week.
Yeah,
nice life.
But I mean, like the same could be said for Kyle Busch and his crybaby antics. But we won't go there.
But he wins races, Joe.
Yeah, but
Matt DiBenedetto never won anything in his life.
Right. But what I'm saying is there's personality in those guys. That's why they're likable. These guys are being hired because they have money behind them. That's the only reason that some of those NASCAR drivers are where they are, is because they have, for whatever reason, they're able to keep a good profile for the companies they represent. The companies aren't like they used to be. They're looking for like some model citizen. They don't want anybody who's going to be, you know, you take this whole situation with the FJB or LGB coin.io. Like that guy earned that shit. Like, yeah, he should be able to rock that all he wants. It's a company. Like, you know, and I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird situation we're in with NASCAR in the sense that I think that the policing of the people is what's kind of killing the sport a little bit. I think this is good for them with the new cars, but I also think like the personalities need to be allowed to play. You know, like they need to be able to be themselves. They need to be able to be themselves.
What? Yeah, it's like on the Dale Jr. download. Like they always talk about like Jimmy Johnson, right? Like when all the shit that we see on TV is he's just bland. Like there's nothing special about him. But then you hear all these stories of like who he really is, and you're like, why wasn't that guy? Why isn't that the guy that we saw on TV?
Correct.
You know, because he seemed like a fucking like a fun guy, like a guy you'd want to go grab a beer with, like a Clint Boyer type. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like Dale Sr. was like everybody hated him on track. He was like the intimidator or whatever they sold you on. And behind closed doors, he was different, but he had a gimmick that worked. It was something he could, like today, you couldn't be the intimidator. You couldn't walk around and tell people, I don't give a shit or something like that, because you wouldn't have a sponsor the nest day. It's terrible.
Candyman does that weekly.
Yeah, and he's losing sponsors, Jack.
Candyman. No, bro.
Candyman.
Stop it.
They're not pulling out because of Kyle. I guarantee you that.
Well, they're not sticking around because of Kyle either, Dave.
That's a good point. Anyway, so what else? What else should we talk about? Well,
what do you do, Brian? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, there you go.
I do. So I just bottle high end wines and stuff like that. everybody's going to hear about this every week, so I'm not going to get too much into detail about it. You can listen to the past episode, but I bottle high-end wines. So for a mobile company, I'm not going to say the name just because
they don't want you.
Yeah.
How many high-end wines fall off the back of the truck that you
got? 0. Everything's all counted and everything like that. So
nice.
Yeah. But
what's the Christmas gift from the high-end wine company?
The Christmas gift. Oh, they give us a $75 gift card for Safeway each week, and then or not each week, sorry, for Christmas. And then once a year we usually get like a yearly bonus and stuff like that. But I work a decent amount of overtime, so that kind of covers a lot of it. Like starting next week, I'll be probably working like between 12 to 14 hours a day for just for next week, and then it'll kind of slow down to like 10 to 12 hours a day for next couple weeks, probably next month or so. Pretty busy. Oh, we've been pretty slow recently because this is our slow time of year. So we stop bottling for the 2 weeks during Christmas every year.
Oh, nice. Do you get off for that or what?
Yeah, they just give it to us off. So we just I think awesome. we use like 2 days vacation for like 16 days off or something like that. Well, that nice includes the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, nice little shutdown though.
Yeah, all exactly.
Right. I got one more question for you before we let you close this thing out, Brian. If you had to pick one person currently in SCSRA's scope of drivers, who would you say your rival is?
My rival?
Somebody you're like, I need to get rid of that guy, or I need to beat that guy every time.
Well, the guy I want to beat every time is gotta be well, I can't really say Cody because he's my teammate, so we work together quite a bit.
Right,
now.
It's got to be any one of your teammates. What do you mean? There's nobody else in the competition.
Well, that's true. I do want to beat my teammates every week, but at the same time, we also help each other out quite a bit. But it's got to be Steven Black, just because there's so many. I think me and him have finished 1-2 probably more than anybody else in the league, and it's usually me finishing second. He beats me more than anybody.
D-Wright, what about you?
I mean, I'm too mediocre to ever even have a rival. I don't have any ill will.
Who do you find yourself around more often than not, and you're like, man, I just want to beat him?
There's nobody that I have a strong urge to beat. I find myself around anybody who's 15th to 22nd every week. So anybody in that range, I'm good with. I don't have any ill will towards anybody. I make more mistakes than anybody. So like, even when people get into me, it's whatever. They're like, oh, my bad. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I did last year when I started and was very competitive, but very quickly realized, outside of committing multiple hours in time of my day into practicing and doing different things on the sim, my role is more join every night 20 minutes before qualifying and have fun and compete. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, and maybe win a super speedway race. I'm not there to run top 5 every week because I just don't have, I mean, not that I couldn't, I just don't have the time to try to put in for practice. I got other shit I got to do. I don't even get out of work till fucking 6 o'clock. And then it's kids and everything until 8:30. So there's just no time really to do anything.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, some people put in a lot of hours.
Yeah, which more power to them. Like I envy that. Like that's awesome to be able to have talk to me in the summer. I do that times 10 on golf. So like that's, if I did that with racing, my wife would probably strangle me. So.
What about you, Joe? Who's your biggest rival?
Well, I don't know that I have a rival per se. I find myself, who I find myself racing around more often than I care to, or that I guess we race well around each other too. Is Junior? Him and I always end up finding each other as long as he's not like bitching about hitting the wall or something. I'm usually around him in some way, fashion. I always find myself 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, right around that region, like trying to keep pace with some of the faster guys, but just not being able to do it and not knowing why. So I
think that's a big thing, Bri. Why? What are the secrets, bro?
I honestly, I don't know. I just I turn left and I try to go as fast as I can. For me, it's like so like one thing that I know, like they say that like saving tires is like open up the wheel, like make it the steer ratio larger.
Right.
So I stopped. So I do that in the truck series, and I'll do that in. Basically, I just do that in the truck series and the ARCA series. But when it comes to like the Xfinity series, I tighten mine up. I make it tighter to where I barely have to move the wheel. And even at some tracks in the truck series, I tighten it up too to where I barely have to move the wheel. But then you got to really be on top of it.
Because so the mile and a half, I go 16-1. Everything else, I'm running 10 or 8-1. Short tracks definitely 8-1 for me.
Yeah, so like at Coda last night, I ran 8-1 on my steering ratio and like 67 on my brake bias, and then I'd kind of back it off at the beginning of the run, and then I'd give it more as the run goes on, more front brake.
But anything with like braking settings, Bri, like messing with the pressure settings, or even like I've seen videos on the range of certain brake pedals, it gets to 80% and it locks up, and going into like the back end and adjusting the range of the actual throw of the brake pedal to make it like fully 100%. Anything like that?
So I always use my brake pedal pretty much at every track, like that tracks that we, mile and a half, right? Where most people are just like lifting off the throttle. And
then the brake stuff's more road course, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, no. I'm saying I use my brake. I'll use it, and then because even say even you don't use your brake, right? You can actually adjust your brake bias and actually make the car looser or tighter just by that, even with not even using your brake. It's weird; it doesn't make any sense. It's just like a glitch in the game or something like that.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. This is the shit I'm talking about right here, Bri. Give us more than nuggets.
So on a standard 1.5 mile track, I'll do like stock is 65% braking. I'll go down to 60. Sometimes I'll even lower if the car is like really, really, really tight. But your biggest problem though is green flag pit stops, because the car will not stop. Like you'll have to really slow it up and you'll slide through your box. So do you have like an adjuster on your steering wheel? Like so you can adjust the brake bias as you go?
Yeah, in the black box, I don't have a button box or anything, but I understand what you're saying.
So I use on my steering wheel, I have a little switch. It's like it says
main to it. Yeah, I got the same thing.
Yeah, so I use, if I switch it to the right, it increases the front brake bias. If I switch it to the left, it gives it more rear brake.
Yep.
So then what I do is I set it up to where I like it at the beginning of a run, because at the beginning of a run it's going to be kind of tight, and then I set it to where I'm one click down from maxed out. So then what I'll do is I'll start at 0, and then as the run goes on, I'll back it off, and give it more rear brake so the car gets looser. But then as I come into the pit stall, I max it out and go all the way to the other way. That way the car will stop.
Right.
So that's one little trick. Like that's a big trick to keep the car loose. But
yeah, because it's a 6 degree swing, right? It's 3 up, 3 down, right?
Yeah, so I set it to where when I'm racing, I'm set at plus, like when I start a race, usually I'm at +2, right? And then as, every so many laps, I'll give it a click, and then I'll give it another click, and then I'll give it another click, and then I'll just keep going until it's maxed out. And then when I'm going in to make a green flag pit stop, you always got to remember to switch back, because that's actually what cost me the championship in iOS the very first season, because I missed pit road because I forgot to do it, and I had to do another lap around, and then I was going to run out of gas, so I had to stop, and it was a whole big clusterfuck. Yeah, so
you're telling me that you believe that the car loosens up based on brake bias, even though you're not ever touching. Like if you just lift it, it would be looser inherently.
100%. There's actually videos on it on YouTube. You can find them. Like it will legitimately make your car looser even if you do not touch the brake. There's some type of glitch in the system.
What else, Bri? What are the other nuggets? What else you got, Bri?
That's it. It's just that, and then also steering offset. You don't want to be like, you don't want to have your hand like if you do, okay. So like for me, I don't really have to do it too much because I tighten up my wheels. But if you're opening it up, you want your wheel to be kind of cocked towards the right going down the straightaway. That way, when you're in the corner, you're not like fully upside, like one wheel at like 1 o'clock and the other wheel at 7. You want to be kind of like, maybe like an 8 and a 2.
Right.
just kind of like that in the corners. That way you can kind of you can react a little bit quicker in case the car starts to come out from underneath you.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the only really tricks that I got. Other than that, I just videos on YouTube or the VRS. Last night, when we were in practice, I was, the best I could do was like a 117 or no, like 117, 118 or something like that.
217.
217. And then Cody threw up this video of that one freaking stud, Zelensky.
Yep.
And he showed a video, and I was just like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And boom, picked up 2 seconds, just like that. Just stupid stuff. Like those final 2 corners.
The one before is like a phantom corner. You think it's real slow, you can slam through it, dude. And everybody, I got into 2 people because they're getting down to like 40 miles an hour in that corner. You don't need to.
Well, yeah, that too, but also too that those turtles are not really turtles. You can actually straddle those and not get an X or a cut in the corner.
Right. Yep.
And that's why, like that one time when I got into you, Joe, in that one corner, it's because I thought you guys all missed the corner. And like that was like where I was going in the corner, and all of a sudden you just kind of popped out from behind somebody else's car, and I was like, in practice. And then I run into you. So football teams.
Ooh, you already know by looking at that symbol right there, boy.
I know you're a Seahawks fan, and they did not make the playoffs this year.
For the first time in more than a decade, Bri. All right, so let's add that footnote.
No, that's true. That's true.
A decade of domination, of owning the West.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. Well, I wouldn't say a decade. I mean,
it's a decade.
Niners had you a couple years.
Yeah, they did.
The Harbaugh era.
Dave's a really.
I mean, we can go back there to the tip, just the tip. We all remember the tip.
Yeah, I remember the tip. Yep.
So Dave,
let me tell you. Let's go there real quick. So, quick story about the tip. I'm a lifelong Seahawks fan, and the reason that I am is our father was a Seahawks fan. He had a buddy that moved out to Seattle and went out there in the early 80s, late 70s, and seen Largent play and fell in love with him. Doesn't really know much about football, but just like Largent, like the Seahawks. We met Largent at a Caldor in our area when he pulled us out of school on like a Wednesday, and we went and met him, signed a bunch of stuff. So I've just been a lifelong Seahawks fan. And obviously, as you know, growing up, it was all, not even that we were in the NFC, but it was, the Niners were obviously very, very good. Seahawks were terrible throughout all of my childhood until I got to college. And then we beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, even though they robbed us and actually won the game. And then, continued on through that. And for the NFC Championship that year, I'm working for a company and have to go on a company trip down to Miami. And we're down there, and I'm out with a couple of people from the company that I just kind of met that weekend. There's other colleagues that I've worked with that are there. But we're in a bar watching the game, NFC Championship, and obviously anybody that's watched the game or knows anything about it, it's the Sherman game with Crabtree, and don't try to, the whole Aaron Andrews interview. Anyways, so the game is absolutely wild. Yeah. The game is absolutely wild. I end up, freaking out at the bar and going nuts, spilling over a table and everything when they won, because we're going to the Super Bowl, and it is a long time coming, an absolutely wild game, but made a fool of myself in front of colleagues. It was shortly out of the company afterwards, not because of that, but it's a very good story, and obviously I'll never forget that game.
I'll never forget that one too, just because I thought it was some shitty ass play calling on the Niners' part. It's just like,
and you're terrible quarterback, but
but it's like you got we're a running team. You got 4 shots at the end zone. Run the fucking ball. 4 passing attempts. It was the dumbest thing ever. That's one thing that just always bugged me about Harbaugh. It's like, well, he did it with Michigan, or he does it all the time with Michigan right now. It's just,
Brian, I'm a lifelong Michigan fan, huge Michigan fan, and obviously I'm not anybody. I got a couple buddies that are very good friends. I was at the Ohio State game this year. And I am the biggest Harbaugh critic. I fucking hate him. I absolutely hate him, and I'm with you. I like his personality and who he is. Like, I like, the enthusiasm in all his quotes, but you're right. He blows games constantly.
He tries to get cute. It tries to get away. Like, oh, they won't expect this. It's like, yes, but you've been murdering everybody doing the other things, so continue to do that.
And what you just said is exactly what happened against Sparty. Like, they started running the clock out with up 17 points in the middle of the third quarter when you're literally, every time you throw the ball, it's a touchdown. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarro world. But part of me hopes he goes to the Raiders, man. They had one of the best recruiting classes this year. They had a very, very good team. And, they first time those Midwest boys ever go to South Beach, and you see what happens.
Yeah.
Spend a week at South Beach and don't show up. I knew once I read reports, practice in Florida was hard on Wednesday. We're in trouble.
Should have fucking flown that team right there the day before the game, and all right, let's go.
Right. But I will say this: there's a lot of college football talk within the Discord and those guys. I would love to, in the SEC and all those guys down in the South, the Mays boys, Eddie, all them. I would love to see SEC teams come play in the Big Ten in the regular season and late in the regular season. An October, November game in the Shoe or in the Casa Grande. I think Alabama, Auburn, LSU, they all look a lot different.
See, I have no idea the SEC or Big Ten. I don't know who's in what division.
Dave's referring to the fact that they all play in warm weather the entire year. If they came up late season indoors, and had to play, had to play at the big house or any other environment other than warm and cozy, that they might be a different team, in the snow.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's like, so in college football, it's like, the NFC South, they don't leave the South. And if they do, they'll play a Big Ten team, but they're going to play it in Jerry World in September. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I got you. That's actually, speaking of Jerry's World, that actually might be the backup for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I read that today.
They might have to move it from LA.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because, LA is super strict with all these rules and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, but we're going to have a Super Bowl here. So all these people that are like anti everything, they're kind of with the COVID related with the vaccine and masks and everything. They're like, well, if we got to go super strict, then why are you guys having a Super Bowl here? So they're like, they're just
bullshit. Bullshit walks, money talks, Brian. They'll keep it
exactly probably 100%. So Joe, who's your favorite football team?
So in the 90s, I was a Kansas City fan back with Joe Montana, Marcus Allen, Christian Okoye, Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, the whole great. I liked great defenses back then, and always kind of watched the Seahawks and hung out with my brother and dad. And then I kind of got away from NFL and all that stuff when I was just working. I guess I never really paid attention to it, and then. When the Seahawks started being a little bit better, I started picking it back up a little bit and watching it here and there. And I follow the Seahawks, but football wise, I'm not as enthused. Dave's a diehard, entire basement full of Seahawks gear type guy. I'm like, hey,
it's the Hawks nest, first of all.
Yeah. And hey, if they are playing, I'll watch it. And I root on Russ cause I think he's great and stuff like that. But, Pete's got to go. We need a new coach, D, right?
Yeah, I think changes.
Sneaky Pete.
Changes are brewing this year, Bri. I don't think Russ goes anywhere. I think that would be very, very foolish. These guys are once in a lifetime.
Russell,
you hold on to him.
Yeah, it was so nice to be like, oh, Russell Wilson, he's at the end of his career, and then all of a sudden they draft Cardinals draft Kyler Murray. It's like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? It's just, it's freaking Russell Wilson 2.0. It's like, son of a bitch. Right. Yeah.
So I still wonder how the Niners have a quarterback who takes them to the playoffs and then get rid of him and that's it. Just goes back to that same point. You cannot express yourself because you're in jeopardy of being canceled for whatever reason. And I don't even agree with his statements or what he did, but I just why?
Are you talking about Kaepernick?
Yeah.
Kaepernick was already riding the bench for a whole season before.
Kaepernick stinks, Joe.
Yeah, Kaepernick was already riding the bench before he got let go. They already wanted to get rid of him, and then the whole off field antics just added to it. It's just like, we already want to get rid of this guy.
There's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that are serviceable, that can read one side of the field. Tyrod Taylor, guys like that, right? Like, you can win games with them, but they, outside of running route combinations on one side of the field. If it's not there, you go to look to the other side of the field. They're running, right? Kaepernick's that guy. Tyrod Taylor's that guy. You can give them the combination.
Tebow was that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can give them
one,
that over there, but when you go to the third thing, it's scramble brain, you know?
Yeah, once they figured out Kaepernick, that was it. It was his career was as a starting quarterback was over. Odds are, if he hadn't have done the whole kneeling thing, he'd probably still be in the NFL as a second string quarterback somewhere.
100%.
I guarantee it. But he wasn't good enough to be a starter, and then his whole kneeling and off field bullshit and stuff like that is basically what kind of caused the whole of him just losing his job. Or just not having a shot in the NFL. Well, actually, no, I take it back because actually, there are teams that have offered him money, but he didn't take it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the whole deal is behind that. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, personally, I always hate it when like I'm not hating on you, Joe, but like what you just said, you know, like he lost his job, you know, because of what he did. It's like, no, he didn't. But so many people think that he was already on the bench, like. If you look at his last season stats, they were horrendous. Actually, last 2 seasons, they were
it's the only card he had to play, Brian.
Well, yeah, they built that narrative around him, right? Like,
100%. But like like you said, you don't really follow football too much, so you didn't know, you know.
Right, but that's the optic that it would have given somebody who didn't know.
Exactly, and there's so many people that say that all the time. Is because I liked Colin Kaepernick. I rooted for him, and then I was just like, the leagues or teams figured him out, and I was like, well, it sucks, and everything like that. And then he started kneeling, and honestly, I didn't really give a shit that he knelt. The only I mean, I don't know what your guys' stance is on the whole kneeling thing. Like, I honestly, it's not like a big deal to me, but obviously people look at it differently. But I always hate when they're like, oh, well, he did this because of this. It's like, no, he didn't. That's the part that pisses me off is when they say that he did. It's like he did this because he knew he was gonna he was slowly fading into nothingness in the league. Irrelevant, and he was trying to become relevant somehow. And it scored him some Nike deal, and he's freaking walking around in loafers or whatever. I don't know, Nike loafers.
There was something, dude. No, it's something in the latest that is completely off the wall. I don't know what the latest commercial was, but it was off the wall. It might have been like crypto trading or something. I don't even know what it was. But
it's funny how that worked for Bubba Wallace, though.
Yeah, well, I mean that. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it worked for Bubba Wallace. Well, I feel like Bubba Wallace, I feel like he's good enough to be in NASCAR. Like I feel like he's good enough to be there. Like there's other drivers in NASCAR. He
definitely did, and he earned his way there. I mean, he was a great Legends driver, and he's definitely earned his right to compete in NASCAR. I just the narrative thing. It's back to that same thing. Like. Drives me nuts, and it goes for any narrative. It could be that even the Matty D narrative of "oh poor me," right? Like all those narrative type stuff that just shit drives me nuts.
Yeah. It's just like I watch sports. I watch NASCAR. I watch F1. I watch football. I watch baseball to try to get away from all that shit, and it's just it's all coming into there. The whole reason for sports and all that stuff is to get away from the daily shit.
Correct. Exactly. I want to watch race cars go around a track and people be competitive and get mad at each other and fight, because the fighting is part of NASCAR. Like getting pissed at somebody because they almost took your life is definitely like one of the parts that I watch it for. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to watch that drama. I don't want to watch, about the drama that's going on in real life.
We don't care about the off track shit when it comes to that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What about outside of sim racing, Brian? Any sports? You in a bocce league, a bowling league? What do you do?
Nah, just for me, it's basically I used to slot car race. I used to be super big into that, but all the tracks around me have shut down. I mean, now if I want to go do some slot car racing, it's a 2-hour drive anytime I want to go anywhere. So it sucks. Back in 2019, I went over to the UK to go race in the World Championships for it.
For slot cars?
Yeah, for slot cars.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm not that good. I was just basically just accepted to go, essentially.
And how was it?
Oh, it was a blast. I wish I wish I would have. I mean, I was drunk pretty much the whole time while racing too. It's
How old were you? What was you bar age?
2019. So this
Oh,
was
wow.
this was just a couple years ago. Yeah. This was just what 3 years ago.
How was the food? I heard the food is terribly bland.
It's horrible. They don't have spice.
My company, we have a UK office, so I have a bunch of colleagues over there. We talk all the time. And we've sent people back and forth. Not a lot since pandemic, but I've had chances to go over there, and I just haven't. And everybody always says the same thing about the food, though.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. They don't have spice racks or anything like that. And then you go into their stores and stuff like that, and they have like a spice section, and it's just different types of salt and different types of pepper, and that's all they have. There's like, you want to try to find paprika, good luck. You know what I mean? You want to find some garlic powder, good luck. You know, it's just it's nothing. And then like I wanted to make like some tacos one night for dinner, and we had to buy like a whole taco kit, and they weren't real tacos. You know, they came in like that hard shell pack, like, you know, like almost like tortillas and stuff like that. It's like I just wanted to find like a thing of like tortillas and make my own tacos. And we actually talked about this last episode. They don't refrigerate their eggs over there.
Oh,
yeah, they're just out, just everywhere.
Well, I mean, essentially, it's the same as if they get laid, right? Like they're just chilling. They're not going to go bad.
Yeah, that's true. We had well, it was funny. Somebody said, I think Junior said, as long as you don't refrigerate them, you don't have to refrigerate them. But once you refrigerate them, you have to keep them refrigerated. But then I talked to one of my buddies, and he said he was talking about something with like bleaching, and I don't know. I was drunk when he told me to. It was on New Year's. But yeah, I guess once you refrigerate them, you have to keep them refrigerated. But if you don't refrigerate them, you don't have to refrigerate them. But I guess the shelf life is longer when you refrigerate them. So they must eat a lot of eggs over there, I guess. Because, I mean, there's like just big pallets of them just everywhere. Like, and they don't have bacon. They have like this big, thick bacon.
Ham, right?
Like it's more like ham. Like I was like, where'd you get this bacon?
Canadian bacon.
It's not even Canadian bacon. It's different. I mean, I'd rather have Canadian bacon than this bacon. It wasn't bacon. It was weird.
What about the bar? What about the pubs?
Oh, the pubs. Oh, we almost got. It was actually kind of funny. We went into this. It was like total like soccer hooligan, like little pub. It was like up above like something else, some restaurant or something. And we kind of go back down this little alley, and like there's just like a couch chilling like in the middle of this alleyway, and there's like what is that? The tracksuit is a big fashion statement in the UK for sure. Like a lot of people have them. And anyway, so we go upstairs to the bar, and there's like, I don't know, maybe the 7 or 8 TVs, and there's only one that's on, and it's the one behind like the little bar. And they don't like tips there either. Or they don't understand, like when you leave money behind, they're like, oh, he just forgot the money. So then I go up and buy another one, and I leave more behind, and then I'd like go up and order another, and I leave more behind, and then like I was like realized he like left all the money every time I kept going up there to like get a new beer that he left, and I was like, hey, this is for you, and he goes, what's this for? And I was like, just tip. And he goes, oh, thanks. And then he just walked away. Like I don't think they get like it was like a UK dive bar.
Is gratuity in the UK.
Yeah. It was a UK dive bar. Like there was nobody like that's from out of town going to this bar normally, right? So then we the F1 race was at Silverstone that weekend. So we're like, hey, could you turn the race on? That's what I said to the guy, and the guy goes, oh, game's on. And I was like, oh, I was wondering if you could turn it on one of those TVs. And he goes, oh, there's only one box. So there's one cable box for like 7 TVs. I thought it was the weirdest thing in the world.
It's like, what's this, 1985? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I was just like, okay. So then I walked back, and I was like, I don't think we're watching the race.
We're in the wrong place for the F1 race.
Yeah. So then I think we went to we went to the hotel where the race was being held at, and then we went to that bar, and they put the race up there live, so we watched it there. But yeah, the only good food that we had there was we had Chinese food there one night, and that was it. Other than that, all the other food was horrible there.
I've heard the same thing about Ireland is a lot like that as well.
Yeah, just meat and potatoes.
Very bland.
Yeah. Well, shit, we're almost an hour and a half in. You guys want to call it? Or you guys got anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I think that's pretty good. Bri, thanks for having us on.
Yeah. So I asked this question to everybody else, or everybody before they leave. Is the biggest question is, does Cody sit to pee?
Go ahead, Joe.
I think he stands, but he probably still lets it, like hovers.
You think he's a hover?
Yeah, he's
Ooh,
a hover.
that's a new theory.
Like a side saddler?
Yeah, like he walks over the top of the toilet and
Like a Zach Morris type of thing?
Yeah, like that.
Well, then I guess if you were to do that and like kind of walk into it and sit, because I always pictured he faces away, but I guess if you walk up to it, I mean, you could sit down. You got like a little table there. Shit, you can sit there and have breakfast and stuff.
Right. I was gonna say probably only in a public restroom out of fear of being exposed.
Yeah, that's a good theory. All right, so definitely so far I've had 4 guests and I've had three sits and then 1 hover. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week, or I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Talk to you then, and thanks for coming on the show, and maybe I'll have you guys on again one time.
Hey, thanks for having us, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Brian. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate everything you do.